Have you ever met someone who seemed incredibly confident? They walk into a room like they belong there. They know what to say. They know when to joke. They know when to compliment someone. They can talk to strangers without hesitation. They never seem embarrassed. And somehow, everyone likes them. But here's the strange part. Sometimes the person who looks the most confident in the room is the person who becomes the most uncomfortable when the room goes quiet. Why? Why would someone who seems to need nothing from anyone secretly need everyone's approval? And what if confidence isn't always confidence? What if sometimes confidence is a performance that became so convincing, even the performer forgot it was a performance? Today, I'm going to tell you about Daniel. And there's one question I want you to keep in your head throughout the entire story. Who is Daniel when nobody is watching? Because by the end, you may realize that question isn't really about Daniel. Welcome to Truly Woke. This isn't a mystery where we're looking for a criminal. We're looking for a pattern. And unlike our mystery stories, there isn't going to be one dramatic moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Instead, I'm going to show you tiny moments. A sentence at a dinner table, a joke at a party, a strange reaction to criticism, a relationship that looks perfect from the outside, a decision that shouldn't be difficult, but somehow becomes impossible, and then one ordinary question that completely breaks Daniel. I'll also ask you to pause a few times. Don't answer for Daniel. Answer for yourself, because there's a difference between I know someone like this and I recognize myself in this, and sometimes the second answer is much harder to admit. Daniel was 31 when most people would have described him as confident, not arrogant, not obnoxious, confident. He had the kind of presence people noticed without understanding why. If a conversation became awkward, Daniel fixed it. If two people disagreed, Daniel found the middle ground. If someone felt left out, Daniel noticed. If a room became boring, Daniel became entertaining. He could walk into a gathering where he knew nobody and leave knowing everyone's name. People told him things. People trusted him. People wanted him around. And Daniel knew exactly how to give people what they wanted. If someone wanted attention, he gave it. If someone wanted reassurance, he gave it. If someone wanted admiration, he gave it. If someone wanted to feel intelligent, Daniel asked them questions that made them feel brilliant. And because of that, people thought Daniel had extraordinary emotional intelligence. Maybe he did, but there was something nobody noticed. Daniel wasn't only reading people, he was constantly measuring himself against their reactions, every few seconds, almost unconsciously. Are they still interested? Did that joke land? Was that too much? Did she like that answer? Did I sound impressive? Does he respect me? Do they still want me here? He didn't experience these thoughts as questions. They happened automatically, like breathing. Daniel wasn't raised in a dramatic household. There was no obvious villain, no movie-style trauma. His parents worked hard. They attended school events. They remembered birthdays. They provided what he needed. From the outside, everything looked normal. But children don't measure love the way adults do. They measure patterns. Daniel noticed something early. When he performed well, the room became warmer. When he brought home excellent grades, his father smiled differently. When he made his mother laugh, she became more affectionate. When he won something, everyone gathered around him. When he disappointed them, nobody screamed. That would have been easier to understand. Instead, the room simply became quieter, a little colder, a little less interested. And Daniel learned something without anyone ever teaching him. Being impressive made connection easier. When Daniel was 10, something happened that seemed completely insignificant. He told a joke. It wasn't even a particularly clever joke, but something went perfectly. The timing was right. Everyone laughed. Not politely. Really laughed. Daniel looked around the room. For 3 or 4 seconds, every eye was on him. And something happened inside him. He felt powerful, safe, important, wanted. That night, lying in bed, he remembered the moment. And instead of thinking, that was fun, he thought, I found the thing that works. That's the sentence. Remember it, because Daniel would spend the next 20 years proving it. By 16, Daniel had developed a reputation. Funny, confident, social, fearless. He knew exactly how to behave around different people. With the serious students, he became serious. With the athletes, he became competitive. With the shy people, he became warm. With the popular crowd, he became effortlessly cool. It looked like adaptability, and it was. But something else was happening. Daniel was slowly becoming whatever version of himself received the strongest reaction. One afternoon, a friend asked him, "What's your favorite band?" Daniel answered immediately. He named the band his friends were currently obsessed with. The friend smiled. "Seriously? Mine too." Daniel smiled back. The conversation continued. Daniel never mentioned that he had never listened to them. He wasn't lying consciously. He simply wanted the conversation to keep going. That's how subtle this becomes. A person doesn't wake up one morning and decide, "Today I'll become fake." They simply discover that certain versions of themselves receive more love, so they repeat those versions again and again and again, until eventually they don't know which version was original. There was one subject Daniel secretly hated: art. He wasn't terrible, he just wasn't good. And because there was no easy way to charm his way around it, he avoided it. One day, the teacher handed back an assignment, a mediocre grade. Daniel laughed. He joked about it. Everyone laughed. He turned the failure into entertainment. From the outside, he looked completely unaffected. But later, alone in the bathroom, he stared at the grade and whispered, "Why can't I just be good at everything?" That sentence mattered, because confident people can tolerate being average, but Daniel couldn't. Being average didn't simply mean, "I'm not good at this." His brain translated it into, "Maybe I'm not special." And if being special was connected to being loved, then not being special felt dangerous. College gave Daniel an enormous playground. New people, new identities, new opportunities. And Daniel became extremely good at reinventing himself. He joined groups. He hosted gatherings. He became the person who organized things. He knew where everyone was going, who was dating who was fighting, who needed advice, who needed encouragement, who needed to be humbled. He could control the emotional temperature of a room, and people loved him for it. But there was a problem. Daniel almost never asked, "What do I want?" Instead, he asked, "What would make sense here? Those sound similar." They aren't. One night, his friends were choosing a restaurant. Everyone started arguing. Daniel listened. Then someone asked, "What do you want?" Daniel froze for half a second. Nobody noticed. He quickly answered, "I'm good with whatever you guys want." They continued arguing. Nobody thought anything of it. But later that night, Daniel remembered the question, "What do you want?" And he realized something uncomfortable. He could name what everyone else wanted. He couldn't name his own preference. Not because he had no preferences, because he had spent years training himself to override them. If his friend wanted Italian, Italian sounded good. If his girlfriend wanted the beach sounded good. If his colleagues wanted the promotion, Daniel supported them. If someone criticized his favorite movie, he suddenly understood their criticism. Daniel could always find another perspective, except his own. At 27, Daniel received 2 opportunities. One was prestigious. The other was interesting. The prestigious role would impress everyone. The interesting role would make Daniel happier. He couldn't choose. For 3 weeks, he made spreadsheets. Pros, cons, salary, location, future opportunities, reputation, growth, every possible variable. But he never wrote down the most important question. Which one do I actually want? Eventually, his girlfriend asked him, "Forget everyone else. If nobody knew which job you chose, what would you pick?" Daniel laughed, then stopped. He looked at her. "I don't know." She thought he was joking. He wasn't. Daniel eventually met someone who loved him without needing him to perform, and that should have solved everything. It didn't. His fiancée didn't need him to be funny, didn't need him to impress her friends, didn't need him to win arguments, didn't need him to be perfect. She liked boring Daniel, the quiet version, the indecisive version, the indecisive version, the version that sometimes had nothing interesting to say. And strangely, that made Daniel uncomfortable. One evening she asked, "Why do you always ask me what I want first?" He smiled. "Because I'm thoughtful." She smiled back. "I know." Then she asked, "But what do you want?" Daniel joked. She laughed. He escaped the question. She asked again. He changed the subject. She noticed. It happened on a completely ordinary evening. No betrayal, no argument, no tragedy. His fiancée was planning his birthday. She asked, "Okay, what do you actually want?" Daniel was sitting on the couch. He smiled, his usual smile, the smile that normally bought him time. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. She waited. Daniel looked toward the television, then toward the window, then back at her. "Anything is fine." She shook her head. "No, I mean you." Silence. Daniel tried to joke. "Nothing." She asked again, "What do you want?" And suddenly, the room felt enormous, because there was no audience to impress, no friend to entertain, no colleague to impress, no stranger to win over, just one person who already loved him. And Daniel realized something terrifying he didn't know. Daniel went into the bathroom, closed the door, sat on the floor, and for several minutes did absolutely nothing. He wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He wasn't having a dramatic breakdown. He was simply empty. Then one thought appeared. Who am I when nobody needs anything from me? That question frightened him more than any failure ever had, because Daniel had spent his entire life becoming useful, funny, interesting, helpful, impressive, necessary. But he had confused being needed with being loved. And now someone loved him without needing any performance. So the performance had nowhere to go. Pause here. Seriously, don't answer immediately. Imagine nobody could see what you achieved today. Nobody knows your job. Nobody knows your income. Nobody knows your appearance. Nobody knows your social status. Nobody knows how funny you are. Nobody is impressed. Nobody is disappointed. Nobody is watching. Now ask yourself, what would remain? Would you still like yourself? Would you still know what you wanted? Would you still feel valuable? Or would you immediately start looking for something to prove? That's the question. Not, am I confident? But where does my confidence come from? Let's forget psychology terms for a moment. Look at Daniel's behavior. He wasn't simply confident. He was constantly calibrated. He monitored people's reactions. He changed himself depending on the audience. He avoided situations where he could be ordinary. He turned mistakes into jokes before anyone else could criticize him. He preferred being admired to being understood. He could tell everyone what they wanted, but struggled to identify his own wants. He was uncomfortable receiving unconditional love. And when nobody was watching, his certainty disappeared. Now ask yourself, which one of those sounds familiar? 1? 3? All of them? Here's what Daniel was experiencing. His confidence wasn't entirely fake. That's important. Daniel really was charismatic. He really was intelligent. He really was socially skilled. He really could read people. The problem wasn't the ability. The problem was the reason he couldn't stop using it. Authentic confidence says, I can impress you if I want to. Compensatory confidence says, I need to impress you. Authentic confidence says, I can adapt without losing myself. Compensatory confidence says, I have to become what you need. Authentic confidence can survive rejection. Compensatory confidence treats rejection like evidence of personal failure. And that is why some extremely charismatic people can be surprisingly fragile. Because their confidence isn't built on, I know who I am. It's built on, I know how to make people like me. Those are completely different skills. This is where things become complicated. People sometimes describe this kind of behavior as narcissism. But be careful. Narcissism is often used online as an insult. Psychologically, the picture is much more complicated. Some people develop an exaggerated public identity to protect a vulnerable sense of self. They need admiration because admiration temporarily stabilizes how they feel about themselves. That doesn't automatically make them cruel. It doesn't automatically make them abusive, and it certainly doesn't mean every confident person is secretly insecure. The real distinction is what happens underneath the confidence. Someone can genuinely enjoy attention without depending on it. Someone can enjoy being admired without collapsing when they're ignored. Someone can be charismatic without constantly monitoring whether people approve of them. The problem begins when approval stops being enjoyable and becomes necessary. Here's another clue. Sometimes the most socially gifted person in the room isn't trying to dominate the room. They're trying to prevent rejection. They notice everything. A change in someone's expression, a slight pause, a person becoming quieter, someone looking uncomfortable. They immediately respond. Are you okay? Did I say something? Come on, don't be serious. Let's change the subject. It looks caring, and sometimes it is. But sometimes, it's anxiety wearing the clothes of emotional intelligence. The person isn't simply asking, are you okay? They're unconsciously asking, are we okay? There's a difference. This is why people-pleasing doesn't always look submissive. Sometimes it looks powerful. The person who controls the room. The person who knows exactly what everyone wants. The person who never says no. The person who remembers everyone's preferences. The person who always mediates. The person everyone calls when there's a problem. Everyone thinks, wow, they're so strong. But privately, that person may be exhausted. Because if everyone needs you, you never have to discover who you are without being needed. Daniel didn't fix himself overnight. There was no inspirational montage, no sudden transformation. Instead, he started experimenting. Small things. When someone asked where he wanted to eat, he chose, even if his choice was unpopular. When someone asked what movie he wanted, he answered, even if nobody agreed. When someone criticized something he liked, he didn't immediately defend it. And when someone disliked him, he tried not to repair the situation. That last one was the hardest, because Daniel had spent decades treating other people's discomfort as an emergency. A friend asked Daniel to help with something. Normally, he would say yes. This time, no. The friend looked surprised. Daniel immediately felt the urge to explain. He almost apologized, then stopped. The friend said, okay, and walked away. Nothing happened. The friendship survived. The world didn't collapse. Daniel sat alone afterward and realized something profound. He had spent years fearing the consequences of being himself, without ever collecting evidence that the consequences were real. Real confidence isn't being the loudest, having the best body, having the most followers, winning every argument, never feeling embarrassed, never needing reassurance, never changing your mind. Real confidence can be incredibly boring. It looks like, I don't know, I changed my mind. I don't like that. I need help. I was wrong. I don't want to go. I actually prefer this. You don't have to agree with me. And perhaps the hardest one, you can dislike me and I'll still be okay. Remember the 10-year-old boy, the birthday party, the laughter, the moment he thought, I found the thing that works. That wasn't evil. It wasn't stupid. It was adaptation. A child discovers, when I'm funny, people come closer, so he becomes funny. When I'm impressive, people are proud, so he becomes impressive. When I'm useful, people need me, so he becomes useful. The problem isn't that the child learned the strategy. The problem is that nobody eventually taught him, you don't have to earn your place every day, so the strategy became identity. If you recognize yourself here, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what did this behavior once protect me from? Maybe your charm protected you from rejection. Maybe your perfectionism protected you from criticism. Maybe your independence protected you from disappointment. Maybe your constant helpfulness protected you from feeling unnecessary. Maybe your confidence protected you from feeling invisible. The behavior may be unhealthy today, while still having once been incredibly useful. That's why simply telling yourself to stop being insecure rarely works. You don't remove a defense by insulting it. You understand it. Then, you teach yourself that you don't need it every second. So here's your final test. Imagine you enter a room. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what you've accomplished. Nobody is impressed. You don't need to entertain anyone. You don't need to help anyone. You don't need to be attractive. You don't need to be intelligent. You don't need to be funny. You don't need to win. You simply exist. Can you sit there and feel okay? If the answer is yes, that's a kind of confidence nobody can take away. If the answer is no, don't panic. You've just found something worth understanding. Now go back to the beginning. Remember the birthday party? Remember the sentence? I found the thing that works. At first, it sounded innocent, a child discovering humor. But now listen to the story again. Daniel didn't spend his life trying to become confident. He spent his life trying to make the world respond to him in a predictable way. Funny, interesting, helpful, impressive, necessary, loved. And eventually, he couldn't tell whether people loved him or the version of himself he had built for them. That is the tragedy. Not that Daniel was fake, but that the performance became so successful, he forgot it was supposed to be temporary. Maybe you know someone like Daniel. Maybe you've dated someone like Daniel. Maybe you work with someone like Daniel. Or maybe there's a little bit of Daniel in you. If there is, don't judge yourself for it. Instead, notice the moments when you're performing something you don't actually feel. Notice when you say yes while wanting to say no. Notice when you change your opinion because someone disagrees. Notice when criticism feels like an attack on your entire identity. Notice when silence makes you uncomfortable. And especially, notice when you don't know what you want until you know what everyone else wants. Because that's where the real question begins. Not, how can I become more confident? But, who am I when I don't need to prove anything? That might be the beginning of real confidence. This is Truly Woke, and I'll see you in the next one. Before you leave, answer one question. When nobody is watching, what version of you comes out? The confident version? The quiet version? The anxious version? The real version? Or are you still figuring that out? Tell me in the comments, because sometimes the most honest answer is, I don't know yet.